Mr. Ray, I was told to ask you if you have enough time for one more.
I got a few minutes. I got like 10 minutes. I got a few minutes.
Hi, Zach. Are you a Jewish man?
I'm a Jewish man.
Hi, hey, Zach. What's up? Zach is my son's name.
Ooh, Zachariah.
The Lord will remember.
It's a good name. It's a strong biblical name.
His name is Zachariahu Yosef.
Yeah, I pronounce it Zachariah.
Yeah, Zachariah. Nice, man. Nice, man. So what's up, bro?
I got a call. So are you... I can tell that you are a Messianic Jew, but are you previously an actual Jew?
Yeah, so my family are Spanish Jews. So my family are Bnei Anusim. So I came to Judaism when I was 19 years old. So I've been in Messianic Judaism for 20 years.
And when you say you came to Judaism, you mean you came to Messianic Judaism?
Came to Messianic Judaism. I was brought up Catholic, but very nominal. So my family wasn't religious, but we have Jewish heritage. And I went back to Judaism when I was 19 years old. Yeah, Messianic Judaism.
And what got you there?
I met a Messianic rabbi, and, we talked about these sorts of things. And then I had a couple of Messianic rabbis that sort of discipled me and, felt the real pull to go that way,
And how would you distinguish what you believe from, let's say, Christianity?
What I believe is theologically I hold the same as the rest of the Christians, which is basically, our Christology is going to be the same, what we believe about the Mashiach, redemption, those sorts of things. The congregations look a little different, so most of my brothers here go to churches and, they meet on Sunday. So my service is on Shabbat morning. We have a Sefer Torah. They don't have Sefer Torah. So, we have rabbis in my congregation. They would have pastors. So a lot of differences are cultural, but not really. There would be cultural differences.
Interesting. So you still do Sabbath on Saturdays?
Yeah, we do Shabbat. I wear tzitziot. I wear a kippah every day. I have mezuzot on my door. My sons are circumcised on the 8th day.
Well, what's interesting is that, Judaism is not a binary religion. We believe in sort of a spectrum of good, and every day that you have a million chances to do good things, bad things, and you walk yourself towards fulfilling as much of your good potential as possible. And so the fact that you
I don't mean to cut you off, Zach.
Consider Judaism.
Sorry, Zach. What are you using a microphone?
No, I'm just talking to my phone.
Good, you sound amazing. I'm like, what are you using?
Oh, thank you, brother.
Okay, sorry. I was about to say I got to get what he has, but go ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, man, I'm in a hotel room, so I've got maybe good acoustics. But yeah, we see everyone has potential, right? There's like total potential, and then your ability to fulfill as much of that potential on earth according to halacha, right, is how we sort of view a righteous life, which means that, like, without knowing it, and maybe while having some, like, sort of serious differences between being what we would consider, rabbinic Judaism and traditional Judaism and whatever you believe, it's very impressive how much you know. And if you, wear tzitzit and, and you have a mezuzah and you follow all these things, you keep Shabbos essentially, I would say it's laudable. It's not, I don't love that you are trying to take people away from traditional Judaism and cause someone who actually does have halachic things to fulfill. And I know you were pointing out his, level of tattooedness. But.
So let's start there then. So if I preach that the Geulah has come, right, that the redemption has come in the partial fulfillment, the way I understand the Tanakh, and I'd be interested for you to try to push back on that, not in a combative way, but to hear what you have to say. I think that the redemption is in stages. There are many rabbis that we can talk about who believe that. We have passages in the Tanakh about the redemption. So if the Geulah has started, the redemption has started, and we are in the new covenant from Jeremiah 31, and I call halachic Jews, meaning from the status of a legal category, they're legally Jewish. If I call them to embrace the Messiah of the Jewish people, the one Moses wrote about, how is that taking them away from anything?
I mean, so there's some basic, and I'm sure you know these things, I'm sure you have answers for them, but there are some basic things that we believe about Mashiach that are just not compatible with a man who died 2,000 years ago.
So give me one.
That he wouldn't have died without entering the Messianic age, that, like, he is supposed to be a king on earth, and he is supposed to usher in an era of
All right, so hold
prosperity
on.
and peace.
Let's take one thing at a time.
Sure.
So Mashiach can't die, right?
It's not that he can't die. It's just that he can't die without having rebuilt the temple and having,
What verse do
sort
you
of
have?
ruled on earth.
Give me a Tanakh verse that says Messiah has to come and rebuild the temple at one shot.
You know what? I wish I could just quote you chapter and verse, and I'm incredibly impressed that you can. I wouldn't be able to do that without taking a look at some things.
Yeah,
but I could find that answer for you. Since I'm talking
and
my
look,
phone.
and I'd be very interested in having the conversation respectfully with you, and I'll let you know what you're going to find is that you're going to have to string together a lot of verses that don't say Mashiach in them, and that's okay because I've got to use verses that don't say Mashiach in them either. But what you're going to find is when you look at the rabbinic sources, and even when you look at the Tanakh, the redemption happens in stages. It's not a boom bam. Even in Joseph, even in Moses, even in the life of King David. If Messiah is the son of David and David ascended the throne in stages, please do your research in that and you'll see it in the Tanakh. He ascends to the throne in stages, so too it'll be with the Mashiach. The sound bites of mono-rabbinic Judaism that say, hey, Mashiach's going to come and boom, everything's great, everything's okay. This is not what we find in the actual sources of the Tanakh or even in the all the voices of rabbinic Judaism.
So the point is that you're saying that your man, your guy, who was written about extensively after he died, by people, some of which who'd never met him. That book has stuff that backs up stuff that they wrote it sort of being inspired by. A lot of them were Jews. And you're trying to string together a combination of verses from two sources, both of which I personally believe were quite man-made, and somehow trying to sort of disprove the first one via the second one, or disprove the first one. I just don't really understand. It seems like it's a really, I guess,
Jack, let me ask you a question real quick. I hear you. I just want to ask you this question real quick, just so we kind of stay on topic, right? Did I quote any New Testament verses since I've been on here for 40 minutes?
No. I mean, actually,
So
I haven't been listening for 40, but...
So what you're saying is not really true. A little respect, right? What you're saying is not true, because I haven't quoted one New Testament verses. I'm quoting the Tanakh and Rabbinic Judaism.
And Tanakh and Rabbinic Judaism... So give me your main argument. Let me just hear it. What's the thrust? What do we get from the Tanakh and Rabbinic Judaism? That point, I'd love to hear it. I really would.
Look, I'm down to have the discussion, but I'd want you to really have your verses, right? The big thing is you made the claim, and this is your claim. You've made one. Your claim is that the Messiah is going to come. He's going to build the Beit HaMikdash. He's going to build the temple again. He's going to usher in peace, right? And this is how we know he's the Mashiach. He's not going to die. He's going to come. He's going to do this. I asked you for verses to tell me and to exegete that from the Tanakh. You couldn't do it. And that's okay because you don't have verses on hand. I get it. Go back, spend your time, do the work, come back with the verses, and then we'll have the discussion.
But I don't think the verses don't necessarily prove anything, right? Like the verses don't prove that what Judaism says is true, and it doesn't therefore also prove that what you're saying is true.
We don't. What is the source of what is the authority for the Mishnah?
The Mishnah is the oral. That's the thing. They're really the authority for Judaism is that it's been very successful, and that there's still 15 million Jews in the world, and that with the amount
of Muslims in the world convince you that Islam is true?
No, in fact, I would say that the amount of Muslims in the world convince me that proselytizing is very effective, especially when you do it with a sword.
So, you said the amount of Jews that exist show me that Judaism works, and that's what makes it true. So I'm saying the amount of, so then...
I don't think that makes it true. I would say that none of the religions that exist today, and people in the comments maybe heard me say that I'm a Jewish simulist. It's because I think that there's a new thing coming, or that it's already here. Okay. But that essentially everything that we have has only been measured in the amount of truth it's been able to parse out of the universe. That again, just in that non-binary way that I was talking, the reason Judaism maybe gets it the most right is because they don't believe in the binary truth. Oh. You believe in a Christology. No,
I believe in the Torah that was given to Moses on Mount Sinai.
But the most important thing that you think come out of that Torah is that there was already a man who's existed.
The most important thing is that God spoke to Moshe on Har Sinai, and he revealed himself to 600,000 Jews that were there, and others, up to 2 million. And therefore, they received the testimony of the Torah. And in the Torah, it tells us that there will come one who is the Mashiach, who will be from the seed of the woman, who will destroy the work of the serpent. And that he will come and he will be like Moses, and that he will be rejected also as it goes on. And that authority of the Torah establishes the Nevi'im, the prophets, which establishes the timeline, the coming of the Mashiach, his two comings, even according to Rabbinic Judaism and the Rabbinic sources. And then it also validates his Talmudim, his disciples that come after.
Okay.
Is the Torah your authority?
I don't think the Torah. What do you mean? It's my authority.
Is it your authority? Is it the foundation of your life? It is the thing you focus on. Is it how you know Hashem?
It's my backstory. Yes.
Is it your backstory? Your backstory is that maybe you live somewhere and then you travel and then now you live here and you got married or whatever. That's a backstory. Is the Torah the foundation?
I think the way you were saying it, the way I interact with God, the way I know God, the way I know Hashem is through Judaism. Absolutely.
So what's the foundation for Judaism?
The Torah.
The Torah, the written Torah, or the oral Torah?
They're considered to be of equal measure.
Can you show me that? Can you show me that from the Torah?
No, I can just show you that from being Jewish.
So how can you show me how you can show me that? Prove that to me. That they're the same.
What do you mean? Prove that to you?
Yeah, show me. Exegete it from me.
I don't understand. What would show you if there's like a sign?
I don't know. It's your truth claim. You believe it. You believe that the oral Torah and the written Torah are together. They're a thing. I'm telling you, the written Torah was the only thing given to Moses on Mount Sinai. That's what the written Torah says. We have no oral Torah that exists with that. I'm saying that is a fact. You're saying no. I say, okay, show me.
So is this how you then sort of set up? Because there's arguments that come from our oral law that sort of...
No, I just want to know what you believe. You asked me a bunch of questions at the beginning. I answered very plainly and clearly. Now
I told you what I believe is that religions are a reflection of how much truth they've been able to tap into in the story. Okay, do you think, let's not talk about Judaism for a second.
No.
Do you think that Buddhism is correct?
Are you a Buddhist?
I'm not a Buddhist.
So I don't want to talk about Buddhism. Let's talk about Judaism and let's talk about the Torah. I'm here to talk about the Torah, not Judaism, not Buddhism.
But you're using the Torah to come up with something that is not Jewish.
Okay.
Right?
So
I mean, Jesus did this himself.
So
by
that's
the way.
a truth claim.
This is Jesus' whole thing.
So that's a truth claim.
He was a
I'm
Jew.
using the Torah to come up with things that are not Jewish, and Jesus did the same thing. Okay.
I know.
Prove it. Show me.
Isn't that the basic story? Is that Jesus says, "Hey, this is like a bunch of stuff that the rabbis are telling you to do. You don't have to do it. Don't worry about it. Like, there's some basic laws. I've got some rules for you."
What verse in the New Testament says that?
Okay, again, you keep going back to am I wrong?
Oh, you're 100% wrong.
Okay, so then explain to me why I'm wrong. Not asking for a verse. That is the generally accepted. I'm not saying anything that's not the generally accepted truth.
No, to be really respectful, you're making a lot of claims without being able to substantiate them, right?
It is the generally accepted truth. You're the one sort of coming out of, creating new truth. You're saying Judaism is incorrect, even though what you might have known about Judaism by being, a person who went to yeshiva and grew up their whole lives Judaism, like, you don't know what Judaism is. I know what Judaism is.
So growing up in yeshiva is the thing that really makes you know what you're talking about, right?
Growing up in a Jewish environment that included yeshiva is absolutely the way that a Jew might.
Do you think Rabbi Akiva was a great rabbi?
Oh, I know about Rabbi Akiva.
Do you think Rabbi Akiva was a great rabbi?
Yes, and he didn't have such a great background, did he?
Did he go to yeshiva?
No, he didn't. You know what's a great story about Rabbi Akiva? Do you know that Rabbi Akiva was considered to be so beautiful that when the rabbi who got him into Judaism met him, and he was a thief at that point, essentially.
I agree that Rabbi Akiva is great. I'm not disagreeing with that. You don't have to convince me that. I agree. Rabbi Akiva is great. Yeshiva or not, I was just trying to give people a background for it. So we're saying Rabbi Akiva is very great. He's one of the greatest of our rabbis, one of the greatest of the Tanaim, 100%, right? Agreed?
Yes.
All right, so he grew up, he has the background, he has the credential, he has smicha, he has ordination, but he still thought that Bar Kokhba was the Mashiach when he wasn't.
Again, this is exactly the point. right?
So having a background, being one of the greatest, being one of the most amazing of our teachers, doesn't matter because you can still have Mashiach wrong.
Totally.
Okay, so it doesn't matter if you go to yeshiva or if you have this background or if you're in Judaism for 20, 30, 40, 50 years. What matters is what the Torah says.
No.
You contradicted yourself four times.
No, what you're
So let me
saying
answer
is
what
that
you said
you have indications in the Torah that prove somehow that a man who lived 2,000 years ago, who wasn't even really sort of known by a lot of the people who wrote the religion that you are sourcing.
How was he not known?
Again, he very well could have been a an amalgamation of different people who lived over a period of time.
We've got to address what you said. You said that the Messiah comes in and he does away with the Torah, right? He tears these things up. He's not really for it. He establishes a new religion. This is what you said, right?
What?
You said that Jesus came in and he established something different. He did away with the Torah. He wasn't teaching properly.
No, he overturned the tables. He said, listen, like, these guys are crooks, they're corrupt, and like, this is not Judaism, which, by the way, like, he could have been totally right. It doesn't make him the Mashiach. It just,
Hold on for a second.
he probably wasn't so far off the
So let's do this, okay? Matthew 5:17, what does Yeshua say? What does Jesus say? He says, don't think that I came to abolish the Torah or the Nevi'im, the prophets. I did not come to abolish, but to fulfill. For I say to you, until heaven and earth pass away, not the smallest letter, one of the Taganim on the Torah, will not pass away from the Torah until all is accomplished.
Okay. So he's not going to pass away until all that's accomplished.
He did not come to abolish the Torah.
Wait, but what was that last part where it said that he wouldn't die until the work was done?
No, that's not what he said. He said, until heaven and earth pass away, not the smallest letter or stroke shall pass away from the Torah until all is accomplished.
What do you mean all is accomplished?
Until all is accomplished, until, as Isaiah 66 says, we're going to have a new heaven, new earth, and new Jerusalem.
And yet he has that materially changed Judaism from that point.
Where? And what verse? Where did he do that?
Is the idea that because
You got to answer the question.
we consider the written and oral law to be equal.
Okay. Do you want to talk about that now?
Yes.
So show me where the oral Torah and written Torah are equal. Show me.
Again, is the claim that because he didn't change the written Torah that he's the Mashiach?
I don't know. That's you were the one talking.
No, you're making a very positive claim about a person, and I think you're floating over like Bible verses as if what you're saying is that there was a man 2,000 years ago in Roman Judea who was the Mashiach.
I don't think you realize how much you're contradicting yourself.
How am I contradicting myself?
You've gone back and forth over several things that you just said. You said you believe in the written oral Torah. I'm telling you to explain it to me.
No. I'm saying you believe that a man was the Mashiach, and I'm asking for positive proof of that truth. Like, you can tell me that like verses made by another man-made religion somehow like support your claim, and you can twist and turn verses all you want, and it's so impressive. Again, I'm so impressed at the amount of things you've like memorized and know. It doesn't necessarily change the fundamental question, which is prove to me that a man 2,000 years ago in Roman Judea is the Mashiach.
So you said that after you made your claim about the oral Torah. So let's do this. You can't.
Again, as a Jew, I know well enough about Judaism to tell you that we believe, as halakhic Jews, as traditional Jews, that both of those things are equal. There's a lot of Jews who don't think either of them mean anything.
Okay.
In fact, the guy that you were talking to beforehand is one of those people. He doesn't think that any of it means anything.
I think it means something to him. I think he might have just got tattoos, in his rebellious stage. I think that.
No, I mean, listen, we all know that it means something. It's the glue that binds, again, a people that have been around for 3,500 years who've been incredibly successful,
I don't want to get distracted for a second. Just hold on for a second. I don't want to get off track. You said, I asked you to prove to me that there's an oral and a written Torah. You said you can't do it. It just is. This is Judaism, whatever. Let's talk about the Messiah. Now, hold on. Let me give you my evidence why there is no oral Torah. Okay? How about that?
you're going to give me evidence that the oral Torah that I know that exists doesn't exist?
Sure, for sure.
Okay, sure. Yeah, love to hear that.
All right. When was the oral Torah given?
You mean when was it written down?
When was the oral Torah given?
It's considered to be sort of the part two, or the sort of the instructions that were included in the written Torah.
When is it? When is it? When
At
was
the
it
same
given?
time.
When? At Mount Sinai.
Yes.
Okay. You know, based upon Berachot 5a, that it wasn't just the written Torah. The oral Torah composed the Mishnah, the Gemara, and it also composed, according to Rambam, the Sifra and the Sifrei that were given to Moses on Mount Sinai. And Moses was also given the prophets on Mount Sinai, according to Berachot 5a. Do you agree with that or disagree with that?
I disagree with it sort of meaning anything more than words, but sure. What I know of the oral Torah is that it exists today, and that's all that I can prove because I don't exist 3,500 years ago.
All right. Well, let's look at what the rabbis say. Okay, this is Berachot 5a. I'm quoting on Exodus 25:12 when Moses received the Ten Commandments. Look what he says. The tablets. When it says tablets, these are the Ten Commandments. When it says Torah in Exodus 24:12, the Torah, what is that? This is the 5 books of Moses. Okay, what is written refers to the prophets and the writings. The mitzvah is the Mishnah. And then also they have the Gemara. This explains that they were all given to Moses on Mount Sinai. So when I asked you, when was this given to Moses? It was all given to Moses on Mount Sinai. Now, here's my question for you. The oral Torah that you believe in was given to Moses on Mount Sinai. Okay, this is according to the rabbis. This is according to Rabbinic Judaism that you talk about as a Jew. Okay, now hold on for a second.
Yeah, allegedly.
Allegedly. Well, that's what allegedly the rabbis say that. Are you rejecting the rabbis?
I'm giving it a grain of salt.
You're giving it a grain of salt. Well, this is what the rabbis say, okay? This is Berachot 5a, and this is Rambam and his Mishneh Torah, okay? Now, here we go, okay? Now, this is the passage right here. Let me grab it real quick. This is Berachot 5a, okay? Look at what it says, okay? It says, look, Exodus 24:12, I will give you the stone tablet, the Torah, the mitzvah that I have written that you may teach them. This says the tablets, they're the 10 Commandments. The Torah, 5 books of Moses. Mitzvah is the Mishnah that I've written, prophets and writings. That you may teach them is the Talmud, really the Gemara. And these were all given to Moses on Mount Sinai. Exodus 24:12 teaches that they were all given to Moses on Mount Sinai. Rambam as the Sifra and the Sifrei halachic material. Okay? Now, this is the oral Torah that you believe in as a halakhic Jew, as you said that. This is the oral Torah that you believe in, okay? Now, answer me this. While the sons of Israel were in the wilderness, they found a man gathering wood on the Sabbath day. This is in Numbers. This is after he left Mount Sinai. Those who found him gathering wood brought him to Moses and Aaron and all the congregation. So they found a man gathering sticks on Shabbat, and they put him in custody because it had been not declared what should be done to them. Then the Lord said to Moses, this man shall surely put to death all the congregation shall stone him with stones outside the camp. If this is after Mount Sinai, why didn't anyone know what to do for the man who was gathering sticks on Shabbat?
I mean, have you ever read the Mishnah and the Gemara?
Can you answer my question?
I'm just saying, if all that got given out to a crowd of people, how many do you think would have caught all of it?
So Moses is here too. Moses didn't know what to do. The Lord had to tell him.
Yeah, I mean, Moses has a lot of foibles in that era of the Torah.
Was Moses there when the oral Torah was given?
Again, I don't know how much you've read about it. I mean, like, I read the Parsha, mostly every week, and like, he's constantly making mistakes and going back and forth, and the entire thing is an argument and a discussion between him and God. This idea that he doesn't know what to do in a situation shows exactly the humanity that Judaism sort of tries to impart, which is that it's not perfect. It evolves.
Moses got the oral Torah and was commissioned to transmit it on Mount Sinai, but he didn't remember the stipulations. That's what you're going with?
Well, again, stipulations are, if I make a law, right, and then somebody gets brought up for that law, what do we do next? We take them to a court. And in that court, judges decide based on a blanket law that obviously is not going to be specifically tailored to that specific person.
Moses was on Mount Sinai just a little while ago, and he should have known because he received the halakha from God.
No,
how did he not?
That's not how halacha works. That's not how we work.
What does it say in Baruch? You don't understand Judaism, my friend. I'm sorry.
No, I do understand Judaism. You don't understand Judaism.
So what? I don't
Sir,
understand
the
Judaism?
truth is that Judaism believes in the evolution and the working out. We have judges for that precise point. We are a religion of laws that are fought over and argued over, and and changed by precedent and
How do you deal with
evolved.
this passage? How do you deal with this passage? It says everything was given to Moses on Mount Sinai. Moses
Yes.
had the 5 books of Moses when he left Mount Sinai. How
Okay,
did he not
everything
know?
was given to us in the Constitution and the Bill of Rights, and
Stop,
yet we are
stop,
still
stop,
constantly
stop.
arguing
We're not talking
over
about the
how that
Constitution.
actually plays out
We're
day to
talking
day.
about. Are you saying that the Constitution is just like the Torah, on the same level?
I'm saying that
Are you saying the Constitution are the words of
the
God?
ambiguous nature of laws are the same for the Torah as they would be for, let's say, the United States Constitution.
Okay. So you.
That's why Jews become lawyers, because that is our entire basis for our relationship.
Hold on for a second.
When you're at yeshiva, by the way, all you do is you study case law. You
This is what I'm saying
study
to
a
you.
guy picking up sticks.
All right. So here's the whole thing, Zach. It's very important that you understand this. I don't think you know if you're muted, but you are muted. Listen to what I'm saying to you. Baruch 5a says that all of this was given to Moses on Mount Sinai. If Moses had the 5 books on Mount Sinai, why didn't he know that you should stone a person who's gathering sticks on Shabbat? That is my question.
Well, and again, I would point to the fact that this is why Judaism is
I don't mute him like that, extra guys. I'm trying to hear him out. Let him rock, mods, if you can. Go ahead, brother.
I think it points towards the like inherent like ethics and morality of Judaism, which is that we had a moment where somebody was like, we should stone him, and somebody else was like, should we stone him? And there was a discussion as to whether the thing that God said means that we should or should not stone that person. That is Judaism.
Okay. So let's look at this. What does this say in Rambam's introduction to the Mishnah Torah? Are you familiar with that?
I'm sorry, what? Ramon's intro to the Mishnah?
Introduction to the Mishnah Torah.
What about it?
Have you read it?
Not in a long time.
How does it open? How does it start?
Give me a second. Why? Give me your. Let me.
Well, it starts talking about the oral law, about it being transcribed by Moses. And then the very thing it goes into, right? The very first thing it goes into, after it's a couple of verses, it talks about the oral Torah not being transcribed, but Moses, our teacher, taught it in its entirety to his court to 70 elders. Eleazar, Pechesh, Joshua received the tradition from Moses. So all of these traditions were handed down. There's no recollection from Rambam or writing down a Rambam of a forgetting or of a not knowing or a later moment of enlightenment. And then when you go down to, I think it's 124 in his introduction, he repeats what it says in Baruch 5a, which says that, let me get it real quick. That, look at this. The intent of both Talmuds, I'll make it a little bit bigger. It says the intent. Here we go. This is better. Look what it says. The intent of both Talmuds is to elucidate the words of the Mishnah, to explain its deeper points, and to relate the new matters that were developed by each court, right? Which makes no sense because it was all given to Moses on Mount Sinai. Look what's going to happen. From the entire body of knowledge, the 2 Talmuds, the Tosefta, the Sifra, the Sifrei, can be derived, the forbidden, and the permitted, the impure, the pure, the liable, those who are free from liability, the invalid, the valid, as was received in tradition, one person from another to Moses on Mount Sinai. Now, notice these things are not in the Hebrew, right? So we go to the Hebrew, it says, Kamoshi Atiku Ish Mapi Mose Messinai. So everything was given to Moses on Mount Sinai.
Okay.
Did Moses not know that they should stone the man who was gathering sticks on Shabbat?
I don't know how many times I have to tell you that that's not how laws work. If you can pass down a law, then how that law gets applied in specific situations, like to that specific man, that requires further discussion. And that is Judaism. Okay. And by the way, this, again, just want to go back to, do you believe in heaven and hell?
I'd like to stay on the topic if that's all right.
Well, I can't sort of answer this point without being able to sort of show the difference between you and me in regards to the binary nature of our thinking. That you probably believe in a heaven and a hell, which is a binary. And I don't believe in that. And the reason I don't believe in that is because I don't think there is any one thing that switches on a light bulb or off a light bulb about the truth of Judaism or anything. That Judaism is specifically it is the act of discerning truth. It is the act
But
of
then how
discerning
do you
truth.
know what's true then? It just sounds like you just, everything about what you believe is arbitrary.
By the
It
way,
sounds
this
like
is
it's
why it's not a
arbitrary.
very easy religion to spread. It's why there's
He's
15
more
million of
so-
us and
he's
2
more
billion
so-
of you.
Look, the thing is, I think you're very much at home with Judaism and Rambam, who brought in these philosophical works from the translations of the Arabs and the Muslims, the philosophical works that permeated Judaism, very much post the medieval period. I think you're really much part of that. And I get that. The thing is, I love to have, an actual more in-depth discussion to find out if your religious system, what you believe in, whether you call it rabbinic Judaism or your philosophy or whatever, what you believe, let's see if it actually matches up with the Torah. And you won't be able to do it.
Again, it shows a complete misunderstanding of how we view religion and truth, and you're applying a Christian lens to what you think would make
What was
Judaism
Christian
right
about
or
what I
wrong.
said? What was Christian about what I said?
Because you said wrong.
There's no wrong.
There's no wrong that could be determined by you.
Do we have three gods or four gods?
This
Do
sort
we
of
have
this
three gods
idea
or
that
four
you would
gods?
lack the humility to know that
Who's
is
the God
another
of
non-Jewish
Who's the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob?
as according to Judaism.
Just according to truth,
Hashem?
the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. How do you know that?
So again, this comes back to my personal belief, which is that
You
what we
personally
consider to be
Zach,
Hashem
Zach,
is
Zach,
the
1
same
second,
thing that
brother.
you consider to be God.
Wait, 1 second,
And it's the
brother.
same thing that Islam considers to be God.
Zach.
It's the same thing that Buddhism considers
Zach,
to be God, even though they don't have a conception of God.
Zach, how do you know that Hashem is the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob?
Because we have been following that tradition.
The tradition that is found in what?
All of the above.
Where does it
Torah,
start?
Mishnah, Gemara.
Where does it start?
Where does it start?
What's the source of the tradition? Where does it start?
At Sinai.
Okay, so I would say that what you believe about God, in many ways, in Rabbinic Judaism, contradicts that which was given to Moses on Mount Sinai.
No. What you think
100%. I could prove it. I could prove it. I could prove it. We'll have that
You
discussion.
can't prove anything about what happened at Sinai.
Can you prove anything that happened at Sinai? Then you might as well not believe that we got redeemed from Egypt.
I
If
can
you said you
believe
can't prove
in
anything
broad
from Sinai,
stories.
what are you
I can
talking
believe
about?
in broad stories about history.
Yeah,
Much
and I
easier
believe
than
a
I can
story that
believe
God gave
about
Moses the written
prescriptive
Torah.
details about
Yeah, I
something
believe
that
God
happened
gave
thousands of years
Moses the
ago.
written Torah, and before they entered the promised land, God told Joshua that he should keep these words on his mouth and that he should write them down and teach them to the people. And that the people, your ancestors, my ancestors, made a promise to keep those words. So yeah, we can know stuff. This philosophy, brother, is foreign to the Torah.
I mean, by the way, I would agree that if I was talking to a black hat rabbi right now, he would be very adamant that we can know things for sure.
I often talk to black hat rabbis, so it's okay.
Totally.
Bring a
And
black hat rabbi here.
I don't think a black hat rabbi knows any more about ultimate truth than you do, necessarily. I think they know more about Judaism's conception of truth and their connection to truth.
All right, man. Look, I would love it if you want to come back sometime and talk Torah. I'm sure there's plenty of philosophy TikToks out here.
No, I want to talk about
Torah.
your belief in something that is 2,000 years old as truth.
Do you believe we were redeemed from Egypt?
I don't think it matters, but yeah, I believe that's the story.
Okay, so that's 3,500 years old. You believe there was a man named Moses that existed 3,500 years ago that talked to a bush that was on fire and delivered people from Egypt when we have no records of them ever even being in Egypt? We don't have any leftovers from the chariot or anything like that. And besides, the flood, isn't it a copy of other ancient myths that existed around there time period? Would you derive-
Excellently put.
Okay, so what I'm saying is that we are saying, what does the text teach? This is the question. This is what we're talking about. What does the text teach? And the question is, does the New Testament line up with the Torah, which is the foundation? This is what's on the table, not your existential thought experiment about the meaning and purpose of life and the relativity of religion. We are talking about, what does the Torah teach? This is what we're talking about. Does it line up with the New Testament?
I don't know how something could line up with, like, it's like if I wrote a continuation of someone's book and then I said his book is his book proves that my book is true.
I get it. Look, Zach, I'll follow you, brother.
Like,
I gotta get up out of here, but I'll follow you, man, and I'd love to have the discussion next time. All right, man. But come with Torah, brother. Come with the source. Come with the foundation. Come with the words that Moses wrote with tears in his eyes when he wrote about his own death. And I love to hear about that. You know what I mean? God bless everybody. God love you. Thanks for having me. Amen. Thanks for having me. Chris Claus, brother, thank you for inviting me. And Zach, God bless you, brother. I pray you come to the truth of Yeshua the Messiah. I'm just around the whole world, man. Peace and blessings.